Microsoft certified trainer as well. So over to Susantha.
Okay. Thanks, Prishan. So good afternoon to you all. Actually, for me, it's like 2:40 in the morning. So that's been said, once again, thank you for the IT Pro Sri Lanka community inviting me to deliver this session. And I'm really honored, and then I'm really glad because I used to be in that user group, I think roughly like maybe 10 years back. I used to lead that one when I was in Sri Lanka. So I'm happy to be back actually doing a session and as a guest speaker. So that's been said, without further ado, let's focus on the key topic. So I'm going to focus on securing agentic AI. So what I'm going to do, team, I'm going to discuss more about like what are the key things you need to think about or plan about when it comes to inviting or adapting AI into your organization, because this is a subject sometimes which has been not overlooked by the company owners or maybe even sometimes by the head of IT or the IT team as well, because everyone is like, how can I say, been very enthusiastic and they want to jump all in to the AI bandwagon, but without overthinking about the security side much. So that's the whole idea about we are trying to go through and then have a pick on what are the security solutions that Microsoft is offering. And at the same time, I'm also trying to keep some question back to you all to think about much more broader way. So that's been said. Now, Prishan already gave an introduction about myself. So I used to be a system engineer a long time back, and then I played multiple roles. So right now I'm working as a solution architect for a company called Accenture. So my day-to-day job is more about helping customers to discover the cloud vulnerabilities and then come up with solutions. Most of the time I'll be focusing on Microsoft security solutions. And that's been said. Something I'm always been very proud about is the Microsoft Certified Trainer. For the last 16 years, I have been doing that one, and then also been an active community person, sharing the sessions and writing articles in LinkedIn. So happy to be connected with you all via LinkedIn. So that's been said. Let's move forward. Now, this particular part will be, it depends on a certain audience, but in this situation, I'll try to glance it very, very quickly. Just bear with me because this is the same problem that I highlighted from the beginning. Most of the organization jump into the AI. Now I find out, oh, sometimes these tools can be really useful, but at the same time, there are hidden issues. And then at the same time, the cyber crimes also keep on increasingly leveraging the AI tools. So this is something, a question for the organization when they don't have the visibility, whether these tools will be abused. And another challenge that we are seeing these days is in organizations, sometimes the users will be using AI tools which has not been approved by the organization, but the intent is much more, let's say, a good intent. They want to get the job done fast, so they are using AI. But the problem is you are actually inadvertently giving away the organization data when you actually putting them onto a chat window, when they are not an approved application. So that's a one problem. And then the other hand, certain organizations, let's say the company that you are working might be a multinational company, or they are a company who is serving, let's say, the users overseas. So when you try to put this information onto a non-approved application, AI application, you're actually breaking that particular agreement, which that particular country has already agreed. Example, let's say if it's EU, you're going to go ahead and put those data into a chat window, which has been not approved application, you're actually violating that agreement as well. So these are the key things. Sometimes the companies find out later with a hefty fine, or sometimes like losing the project. So that's very important to go through carefully by team leads with the IT, let's say it can be CISO or it can be anyone who is in security heading person, verify whether these are things allowed. But being said that one, we all know any organization, how things are end up is users will anyway try to use those apps. So we need to find out how we can block them as well. So that's something I really want to touch base. Now, one thing I would say very important out of this session is understanding those risk vectors. So we call them risk vectors in this situation. So you can see there are three highlighted in the PPT deck. One is the data exposure. So that means oversharing. This is a really interesting one, where the company, let's say the head of ITs or sometimes like business will try to put the blame back onto the AI tools. But AI tools is not the problem. What happens is when you create data and then put them onto SharePoints or OneDrives, sometimes those data will be having sensitive information. Let's say example, HR will be having the employees, all the medical records, or maybe finance will be having, let's say, salary data. So they create those information or maybe Excel files, let's say, put them onto a SharePoint site which is relevant to their department with the assumption that it can be only accessed by, let's say, both those relevant department users. But what happens when you introduce the AI? Now, as you all know, Microsoft AI agents, they have the access to go across your entire M365 tenant. Now, if you have been not careful to protect those data in the SharePoint site, defining who are the user groups really have access, and then blocking the rest of the users, now what will happen is it will be scanning your entire data state in the M365 tenant. If, let's say, accidentally you request the information saying, I'm trying to do a draft, let's say, uh, a PowerPoint presentation or maybe a document or research internally. Can you give me organization employees details? Or maybe like, let's say, I want to do forecasting on salary information. Can you give the employee salary? If you put a prompt like that, what Copilot will do is Copilot will obey for your request as long as your permission, it will impersonate your permission. Go ahead and try to retrieve those documents. Because why? Because it has all the access to those data. So that's very important. What will happen is then it's going to be exposing your data which never supposed to be seen by you. When I say you, based on your role, right? Sometimes you are in a different department, never supposed to see those information. So that's number one. Number two, the permission and identity sprawl. Now, what I mean by that is moving forward, when we try to go ahead and try to create like agents, when they are going to have shared API keys or like, as you can see in here, like over the time period, when you create agents like that, and then they use SPN keys, when something happen, let's say, which is not supposed to happen by that agent, then it comes to the problem, okay, who create this agent, who has the permission, or let's say who is the owner? No one will take the ownership for that one, which I have seen recently in another company when we try to excuse me, help that customer. We found out some of the agent has access to data they are not supposed to, and then we asked the question, who has the ownership for this agent? No one take the ownership. So that's another, we call the identity sprawl. Because another thing you will find when you adapt Copilot in M365, all the tenant users by default will be given permission to create agents. So it's like opening the Pandora's box. So everyone will be excited, and after a training, they will go ahead and try to create agents to help themselves to get a job done, and then they'll try to share those agents with the other team members. All of a sudden, let's say 100 user company will find out maybe thousands of AI agents are there in their environment. And then that's without proper responsibility. Who own that one? When you don't have that visibility, that's a problem. So that's number two. And then the number three, the compliance gaps. As I mentioned, these agents also going to do certain work for you, right? That's the whole object. Now, what will happen when this particular agent, as I mentioned on previously, try to go ahead and try to access certain information and doing a certain task, then we want to find out if in a later for investigation, what did this AI agent access? What did it create? What time? So on and so forth, information like that. Then the question is, can I get an audit trail? Just like a user. Now let's say in a user, when we create a identity, in Entra ID, I can define a scope for that user, assign permissions, and then the same time, I can go and browse what they did. I can get a full audit trail. But in AI agents, if you create that one without proper identity, I can't. So there's a gap. So then again, it will be a problem for security team over the time period when they try to do a troubleshooting an issue or a problem. So these are some of the ongoing questions when it comes to AI agents. Okay. So now the problem is when you look at those three problems that I mentioned, all of them are more like not a technical problem, but a compliance related problem. But it will become a organization problem. That's where then you will be coming to the picture. Okay, how you're going to address that one technically. Now, this particular part will skip. This is something happened recently. Now, most of the organization doesn't, IT team doesn't ask for this job, but now they are going to be suddenly become the people who is going to do kind of like a CISO level job. They are going to come and then try to come up with the tools or solution to govern the data, the permission, which has been a problem, which has not been seen visibly all this time, but because of AI agents, now all the AI agents have access to the data, then suddenly everyone is getting panic. Oh, then we need to fix this problem. So this is one of the key things that we are going to focus today. Now my session is focused around three areas on Microsoft when it comes to agent ID protection. One is actually Microsoft Purview. It's another solution provided by Microsoft. So the whole idea behind that one Purview is we discover the information in your environment, let's say the confidential or critical, whatever defined by you all, and then try to classify them or apply sensitive labels for that information. And then based on that, we can categorize who has access to that one. And then we can prevent those information getting leaked to the AI agents if they're not authorized to, or even for the employees within your organization. And then also prevent they're getting leaked to the outside. Okay. So that's the Purview has a bigger scope of tool set, but we are going to focus on one particular tool set called DSPM, Data Security Posture Management, we call it. Now, DSPM for AI is let's say, kind of like an old name. Now we call it as DSPM. No more DSPM for AI like that. It's DSPM. Unofficially, I call it version 2. So we'll explore that one. The second one is about the Entra ID. Now, just like any user account that for each and every human have, I will put it like that now, human identities, we call it in Entra ID. Now, just like that, for the non-humans, that means for the agents, also we are going to provide an identity. By giving an identity, it will be easy for us to go ahead and manage them, monitor them, control them. So this we call it as non-human identities. But in our case, from a Microsoft branding perspective, they call it that one as Entra Agent ID. Okay, but remember those are non-human identities. But why this matters for you all is rather than going for a different tool, you are going to use the same well-known identity management tool, which is Entra ID. Okay. And then the last one is the Microsoft Defender. I might not be able to do a full demo because even I still didn't get a proper trial version for this one, despite being requested for Microsoft. But the whole idea behind that one is when you create the agents, agents also will be need to be monitored just like any other computer resources in real time. So Defender has the capability to monitor the AI agent sessions as well. Now, in one session like that, I got a question: how can we control the agents or protect agents from misbehaving, or maybe like someone try to manipulate the agent? Now, that is not part of the Microsoft Defender, but that responsibility will be going when you are creating the agent in the beginning. Now, let's say someone want to come up with a solution like, oh, I want to prevent this agent having prompt injection, or someone come up with a like maybe one employee will try to abuse the agent. There are ways a team like some of you might be in the group will have an idea. When you give instruction, let's say example in a Word document, if you upload a Word document to the agent, within that Word document, in a hidden way, you can give some instruction, manipulative instructions. So we want to make sure those kind of instruction or someone in a plain text, type it on the agent, a manipulative instruction. So how can we protect the AI agents? Now, as I said, it's not part of this session, but based on the time, I'll try to quickly demo going into a certain Microsoft AI Foundry and showcase what are the tools they have introduced for that part. But we are focusing on once the agent come into our environment, I mean, someone has created, but how we are going to govern that one. That's kind of a scenario. Okay. So in the meantime, if there's any questions you can come up with, just feel free to put it to the chat window. Then I will try to address them. In the meantime, I'll try to bring another interesting diagram. Take a little time to have a look at this one. So the idea behind that this diagram is, sorry, this picture, I want to give you a broader idea how we need to think about the protection. It's not even the three tools that I'm going to demo you or discuss with you, it's not the end, but it has a brighter scope, very wider scope in there. But then again, even before we come into that section, developer stage, we need to think about protecting the AI agent, which is unfortunately not the part of my scope today, but something to think about. Okay, so this particular picture, what is talk about is during the AI usage time, like sensitive information can be disclosed to the AI agent. We need to think about that one, how to prevent it or control it. And then the shadow IT, like being harmful third-party LLM models can be used. Let's say example, your organization approve Copilot, but someone will go and use ChatGPT or Claude or maybe let's say Kimi 3 or maybe DeepSeek. Even though they are really good models team, the idea behind that one, they have been not approved to access your organization data with a reason. But sometimes users will do that one. And then AI agents and applications during the life cycle. As I said, there can be prompt injections can happen, and then memory and context poisoning can happen. There are a couple of things mentioned over here. So these are the known things when it comes to agent creation. But our focus is like after creating, how things will go wrong, and then how you're going to control it. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and to the next level. But before that, this slide deck, it's going to be the most important. Even if you take a screenshot of this one, this will be the entire, let's say the presentation is all about. The important message that you should take out of this entire session. Okay, so this is a one framework about the governing the identities, securing the data, and then managing the runtime. Because this is one of the biggest problem, like if you remove the vendors names, this is one of the key problem every organization, I mean when they're adapting AI technologies, should address or even should question. What about the control in these agents? What about the data access? Do we have the control on that one? Can we monitor that one? What data they're accessing? How we know that data is confidential or not? And then the last one is when they're accessing this data and when they're working behalf of us within our organization, when something goes wrong, can we detect that one? So that's the defender part. Okay, so now we will jump into the purview. Now, as I mentioned, purview is a broader product, but what we are trying to look at it, how we can look at the insights by using purview. And then they have certain policies we can create so we can control the AI usage, or maybe rather than AI usage, I would say when they try to access data, how we can control that one. So let me bring into the demo environment quickly. So I'll jump into the product called Purview. Now, based on your licensing team, Microsoft licensing works. So if you have something called M365 E3, you still have Purview, but with a limited scope. If you have E5, then this will be really good. You have more control. So in my case, I have E5. So what we're focusing on is, as I mentioned earlier, DSPM. So if I go to solutions, even though we have a big list, what we are trying to focus on this DSPM. When you log in and have a look at in your environment, you will find uh, within bracket two other words called DSPM for AI, DSPM Data Security Posture Management Classic. This is going to be removed by September, if I'm correct, this year. So what Microsoft did, they unified them into one portal. But even if I still like to work on this DSPM, the classic one, because classic one also going to give us some insight. Uh, because certain workshop when I carry out for customers, I always go leverage this one as well, because this is much more focused and showing us the information. Now, what I'm going to do is let me jump back and go with the latest one, DSPM. Now, the whole idea behind that one, data security posture management, showing you high level, hey, this is what's really going in your environment. So now, right now, I really don't have much data because this is a demo tenant. But if I had any data, I mean, let's say multiple users daily using, let's say the AI tools, and they access by AI tools, they accessing the data, then I would be able to see very high level how many usage going to happen, how many risky activities happen. When I say risky activities, let's say someone try to access restrictive data, which they are not supposed to do, then I would be able to get a view on that one. Now, based on that view, Microsoft Purview will suggest, hey, we need to come up with a plan because there seems to be like a pattern going on, data leakage. So we need to come up with and creative policies. So here you can see data protection. One is saying prevent data exposure in Microsoft 365 Copilot and Microsoft 365 Copilot interaction. Now, when I go to the remediation plan, it's highlight what's the things that we can do. Now you can see increased risk detection in last 30 days. Of course, in reality team, I don't have any reason because there's no one using that one. But it's just highlighting if that's the case, we need to come up and create policies. Now the biggest struggle for a lot of users is when they're using Purview. How can I create policies? What are the conditions? Now in this case, it's already providing you with an idea. Hey, don't worry, I know the correct policy. Let us work on together, and then they will create the policy. All you have to do is when it comes to view the policy details, look at that policy conditions and then select which one really matters for you, and then it will go ahead and apply that. Now you can see some of the policies I have already applied, enforce the existing DLP policy to protect the data in Microsoft 365 Copilot and Copilot interaction. So when I look at that one, it says it will be looking at, let's say, sensitive information in my organization, like contact source, employee ID, credit card numbers. If they're going to be, used extensively in my chat windows, I want to prevent it, or maybe I want to control, verify whether that really user has access or not. But then the question comes, okay, this is cool, but how do I know what are the sensitive data in my organization? That's the biggest problem. Any company should even question even before coming to these tools. I always advise for the customers, before you adapt any Copilot or any AI, first of all, try to figure it out. Do you know where is your, let's say, important data located, accessed by whom? So the important question is, do you know where your important data? A lot of customers have a struggle. Even you might be struggling if I ask that question, do you know exactly? No, it's very difficult to answer. So what we try to do is, first of all, we run a discovery in your environment. Okay, that's the important thing. We need to discover where is your important data located. So we call them e-discovery. So we will be scanning your entire data state. That means M365 data state. and then try to identify, hey, what are the sensitive information in your environment? So the question come back again, oh, how do you know my company, sensitive data? Because I have my own acronyms, likewise. So there are ways to do that one, team, even though we are not going to go dwell in depth. There are ways we can identify by using predefined identification rules. We call them SIT, sensitive information types, like credit card, home address, medical numbers. Each country-wise also we have very much of details. So example, here I have already defined I want to scan in my environment for document, messages, IPM notes, or even I can go ahead and add emails, so on and so forth. And then if they have any information like credit card, full names, physical address, whatever like you will be feeling like important. So in my case, if I try to look at this list, you can see there's a huge list. Like each country wise also there are certain unique data, so we can find them. Okay, so I'm not going to add anything, but what I want to show is if I go on to statistics, it will give me the idea about, because when you run such a scan based on how much information you have, it can take hours or days even, but high level it will tell you, okay, what kind of information I have in my environment. Okay, and then even it will show you later, we are not going to go in depth, but it will show you where the data located, if it's in a SharePoint, OneDrives, any other location that you have defined. Even in your on-prem file servers we can scan. It will tell you, hey, we found some data. Some of them are credit cards, some of them are like whatever the custom words you give for us, we will be able to find. So now you found the information. Then after that, you can label them. Okay, so that's the first step. So now you identify your information in your organization, you label them. So when you label them, when I come back to DSPM, when I create policies, because now that data has a label attached to that one with a policy, Copilot will actually respect for that label and say, oh, you are trying to access, let's say, confidential data file, and then trying to ask question related to that one. But your identity doesn't have any permission for this file. Because of that, I will not help you to digest and then retrieve the information and then provide you response. So that's very high level in purview how we can actually create policies and then prevent you abusing your organization data. Okay, so feel free to ask any questions like in the chat window while I'm going through the demo. Now that's DSPM part. Here I didn't went on everything like tool by tool, but just want to highlight that's the whole idea behind that one. We will discover, even if your organization using unapproved, let's say, chat windows like LLM models like Copilot or anything like that, we would be able to get a high level quick view saying, hey, your organization users are using these tools, and then we will be able to control that one. This is not the only tool for that one, but this is one way we can get a view what's really going on in your environment and controlling, because that's why there are some other tools are there which we are not going to dwell today. But that's high level team. Okay, so it's easy. The important thing message to remember is purview will help you to discover, then classify, label, and then apply policies. And then DSPM will help you to discover what is the AI usage within your organization, what are the abusive things are going on. Based on that, it will help you to create policies. Okay, now let's jump back onto the PPT deck. So we talk about the oversharing one. Now we will just go on to the next one on the Entra Agent ID. Now this is all about, as I said, giving every AI agent an identity so we can control it. So let's have a look at how that works. So there are two ways we can do that one, but the same portal. Either if you are a person being there for a long time, you can go to the Azure portal and then go to the Entra ID, and then under Entra ID, you can go to agents. They have a section for agents. So this section is the same even if you go to entra.microsoft.com and then go on to the Entra ID section and then go to the agents. It's the same team. There's no difference between the two portals. You can reach out to the same thing. Okay. So I'll go with the legacy portal for the time being. Now, this portal will give an idea about how many agents are there with identity. Now, that's important distinguished because someone will question, hey, this is showing you 8, but I have seen we have many agents created by my employees. Yes, there's a catch also for you all to be aware. Whenever someone create an agent using let's say Copilot UI, that agent, that AI agent will not get a ID on Entra ID side. That means let's think about Azure Active Directory. We call it Entra ID. In Entra ID, you will not see a ID will be created. What I mean by that one is, if I go to the M365 admin portal, expand agents, go look at the AI agents, you can see there are 272 agents are visible highlighting in my environment. But some of them can be created by employees. Okay, so that's the important thing. These agents will not get an identity. So there's a catch. Now, that's the biggest problem also I'm trying to highlight for the organizations as well. Hey, when you give a tool to all the employees without a proper control, everyone will create an agent. And then you have an agent sprawl. So many agents. Sometimes they will be never be going to be used. Sometimes they will be going to be abused. So you don't have proper control. So you can see out of 272. So the one thing that we always advise is no, come up with a plan for your organization. Whenever, just like any other IT policy, whenever you are creating an agent in our organization for any purpose, doesn't matter, even for a simple task, we have proper plan, we have proper documentation, we follow that one. Otherwise, uh, it's like open. I'm not thinking about the good example for that one, but I was thinking like it's like giving control to everyone, then you are abusing that one. So come up with a plan for that one, not to let that happen. Now, that being said, on the Entra Agent ID, here I have the agent identities which has been created. But then again, we have another question came from Microsoft team when they're initially doing this one. Every time when I'm creating agent ID, I have to define who are the users, what are the policies. It's a little bit cumbersome. It's a little bit hectic. So can I come up with a plan where I can have a blueprint? So whenever I create a user agent ID and then put that one into the blueprint, automatically the permission will be assigned in the blueprint. So whatever the permission in the blueprint, automatically this particular agent ID will be, adhering. So can we do like that? So what Microsoft did for that one is they said, yep, we can do that one. We will come up with agent blueprints. So agent blueprint is nothing but a predefined policy set. Okay. So you create a policy set saying these are the groups, these are the, and then in that one you can add users. These are the policies we can define, and whenever you create agent ID and attach to that one, they automatically get in that one. So let's have a quick look at it. Right now we have a slight problem with this agent ID and blueprint creation. Certain permissions you are not able to do that one from GUI, or that means GUI. We are still using PowerShell. Hopefully Microsoft will be improving this one very soon, so you can do that one. But you can see right now it's preview. So that means we are not going to use this one in a production environment scale. But that being said, if I go on to existing agent, you can see we have, blueprint, the blueprint name, how many agents been identity been associated that one, and then what is the blueprint application ID, and then the object ID, because these informations are valuable in an Entra ID environment to distinguish them. So this picture is high level, giving an idea about the blueprint details, which you saw earlier. But two important things which has been not configured here is the owner and then the sponsor. So why those two are important? Remember in the beginning I mentioned whenever we create some resource, we need to know who will take responsibility. So that part is what own is all about. So when let's say IT department will go ahead and try to investigate something, or they want to get more clarification about a particular agent ID, then they need to find out who is the owner, right? Because this agent ID can be created by any department. So we want to know to go back to them and ask more information because the IT department might not have any clear idea about it. So that's number one. Number two, there's something called sponsors. So what is sponsor? Sponsor is kind of like executive guy, like who have the budget, who who give the authorization to manage that one. So it's going one-on-one, like so it's clearly highlighting it's a business driven. Who is the business owner for this one, and then who are the technical owners. Okay, so you can go if you really want. Of course, you can have the same person defined for this one as well. Team, it doesn't matter. So in this case, I can say example. If I go back, in this case, I can assign the sponsor as Adele. Okay, I can add him in this situation. And then apart from that, for the, let's say, going back onto the technical one, I would have can go ahead and create myself or any other users. You can add it to that one. You can do that one when you're creating as well. So here you can see that options, owners. So you can define who the owner. So it's already, you can see two users are there. Maybe I don't need this one. So there's a little bit of a bug seems to be like, as you saw, because it's already been configured, the owners and sponsors. So we have a owner defined, but it was not visible. But then again, the next part is about what this blueprint have access to. Now, this is the challenge that I have at the moment. We can't define them through GUI. So we have to use PowerShell initially when you're creating. In there, we can actually, using MS Graph, I can define what is this blueprint can have access to. So I have defined it can go and actually read the Entra tenant details. Now, what will happen is any user that I add into this blueprint will be able to go ahead and read. You can see M365 telemetry data and Entra ID details on using mgraph. Okay, and then when they try to read it, how they read it, what's the permission they have. So for that one, I can actually go ahead and create a client secret, which is not the best way, I would say. I would rather prefer certificates, user certificate, and do that one, give the permission. So what will happen is the blueprint has the authorization to go ahead and read the Entra ID tenant and M365 tenant. Now, whenever I add a user, the user will be getting the same credentials. Behalf of like whatever the permission blueprint has, it will impersonate that permission and then go and access the tenant. Okay, and these agents can be controlled by using even conditional access policies. So what I'm going to do is I will have a look at it, how to create this blueprint on GUI. So I'll go this one and say IT Pro 01. So this particular part is very simple. As you can see, the biggest challenge is, hey, where I can actually give the controls, like the permission, it's not visible. So that's the biggest challenge that, as I mentioned, we are having. That's what Microsoft also working at the moment. So they are trying to come up with a plan how to control that one. So I'm just going to remove. So owner will be me, and then the sponsor will be someone else, and that's it. So as you can see, it's simple, but it doesn't give much control for us. So to do that one, we have to go ahead and carefully plan and create a PowerShell via PowerShell. So that's a lengthy one. Maybe I'll share with Prishan to share with you all the script that I use for that one. Now, hopefully, when we refresh, we should be able to see the blueprint. So the blueprint is visible. We have certain controls will be visible over here. But as I said, I'm not still happy because you can see the admin consent. I can't give that one. I cannot control anything because everything will be going on to the PowerShell. Okay. Now, even the assigning the users, you can see it's very limited over here. But the important thing for us, knowing that it can be controlled by PowerShell, these blueprints, every activity will be logged. That's the important thing what you need to take out of this demo. So every action will be logged. Now when you go to the agent identities, so agent identities also will be part of the blueprint. But if I go on to, let's say, one of the IT Pro blueprint one, sorry, let's go on to agent. So from an agent point of view team, agent will also have audit log and sign-in logs. And then who are the the owners and sponsors? We saw that one earlier. When we add it to a blueprint, automatically it will get that consent. So this agent is part of a particular blueprint. Because of that, this agent ID will automatically get that permissions, even if you assign it to enter roles. Enter roles, Microsoft is not recommending right now. We only give certain permissions only. But the important thing is audit logs and signing logs. So we know when this agent go and try to do certain task, it's completely visible for us. So we can track it. From a security point of view, this is very important for us. Okay. But as I said, there are certain limitations right now because these things are preview. Certain things are not really working from the GUI at the moment, so we have to go with PowerShell. So that's a little bit of a bummer situation, I would say, but still it's doable. Okay, it's doable. That's the important thing. And then the other thing I want to highlight is, so from the conditional access policies, we can call out for this blueprint or the agentic identities and control them if they're trying to access from a, let's say, certain resources or from a certain location. We can control that one. So that's one option. The other one, which I'm struggling to demo case, is the defender side. That means once you create the agent, we have agent identity to control. We have a way to control what data they access by using purview. But now when they are running, if something goes wrong, how we can monitor those sessions. So that's the defender part always. Just like in any antivirus software, we use it in defender. So it will be always keeping active on those activities. But as I said earlier, when I go to the settings on defender portal, go security for AI, I have a little bit of a challenge. I don't have that one. But then when I go to the assets in AI agents, if it's visible for us team, then all the AI agents will be visible. And then what will happen is, as part of the, if I go on to the incidents and alerts, we would be able to see if there's any particular agent has been, been abused or it's tried to access certain data which is not supposed to be. Then all those threats, or maybe someone tried to abuse an agent, that information will be visible for us. Now, when you talk about that part, let me jump quickly on to the next question that automatically comes for me. How we can actually prevent, when we are creating the agents on the beginning, how to protect them. Now, I'm not an expert on the Microsoft Foundry, so don't expect me to show you end-to-end on that area. But the important thing is, whenever you create agents using Foundry, in Foundry, Microsoft Foundry, they have all those guardrails pre-built. Okay, so what you can see on the left-hand side, you can see there's option called guardrails. So when we go to the guardrails, this meeting, you can see there are two different guardrails already been pre-created by Microsoft. Okay, and then we have something called a block list. So you can come up with a custom block list. What are the words or maybe actions you want to prevent the agents will carry out. So you can create your own block list for that one by uploading a CSV file or manually saying something, because sometimes organizations want to prevent agents to access certain keywords or use certain keywords. Same thing on purview also. We have seen some organizations want to make sure within their Teams chat or emails, employees not to use certain words. I'll put something layman like that, words. So we can predefine those words and say, don't use those words, something like that. But in the guardrails, it's something a little bit beyond. So we can actually come up with like, let's say, risk factors, various risk factors. It can be like a jailbreak or like prompt injections. So you have those options you can configure and then, adjust the way how you want that one threat tolerance level, and then apply that guardrail to your agents that you're going to create. So Microsoft, as I said, they keep on improving on this one. It is not the perfect on every angle. So right now they have something onto the jailbreak. They have indirect prompt injection prevention options, and then harmful contents. So you can see there are a couple of them there, and then you can create your own, and then the protected materials, if you have anything important you want to prevent being used, and then sensitive data leakage, which we talk about, can be controlled by using purview. And then you have certain like task adherence, which I'm not sure about, as I mentioned, because I'm not expert onto this area. But then again, there's another one called network controls. So your output out of these agents also can be controlled. So these things over the time period, if you're creating the agents on the beginning stage, you can actually control. So anyone who is expert on creating AI agents in the organization, yes. So this is one area they can actually pre-plan properly for the protection purpose. Okay. But the ones that I was explaining is, yeah, the agent is created to a certain extent when they're onboarding, how to control. Now, one important thing is when you're creating that agent on the Foundry or Copilot Studio, that time that agent ID as an agent will automatically getting an agent ID created in the Entra side. So that's very important. So when we're using Foundry or Copilot Studio and create agents, they will actually getting registered with a agent ID. At that time, of course, you can even select a blueprint. But when you use, let's say, Copilot, okay, normal Copilot window, and then try to go ahead and I really don't have the premium version. Otherwise, we could have actually create agents over here. When you create agents over here in this window, no, they will be not getting any agent ID, but we can see them on M365 portal. So that's why I'm raising the question. You all need to come up with a plan. Oh, in that case, we need to anyone in our organization will not be allowed to create agents by default, or maybe I will give the department heads the chance to create it, but then they need to submit the form for us, so then we will be able to keep an eye on that agent on M365 Admin Center by using Agent 365. Now here I come up with another new one, Agent 365. That's another way Microsoft coming up and managing these agents. Okay. Here also we have a couple of tools. But the way I look at that one is, it's like you let the problem happen and then you're coming up with a solution like that. Okay. Saying, oh, you created agents. Okay, fine. You have too many agents. Fine. We will give you a tool to have a visibility. And then we will give you certain tools to control these things. But then again, these controls are not very comprehensive. So that's why the three tools that I mentioned earlier is much more in-depth. IT team have full control on that one. Okay. But Agent 365 is another way Microsoft is coming up and saying, oh, you can get a full dashboard about all the agents in your organization. Okay, that's something additional. So let's jump back onto our PPT deck. Okay, so that's been said. Now we went to actually the demo part. So we already covered the demos. Feel free to ask any questions, because let me jump into the last one, how I actually redefine the entire presentation for you all. So the three components that I mentioned, it's not going to work separately. End of the day, they're working one-to-one, kind of like integrated, kind of like a loop, as you can see in the PPT deck. So you create the identities, so we can monitor them, we can control them, And then we have the permissions on the purview. So we know our data is protected properly, so it cannot be abused. Even if you try to abuse, we have rules to control it. And then we have the defender in case of like identity runtime, during the runtime, if an issue happen, to monitor that. So that's, you can see entire life cycle to a certain extent. What is not in there is when the AI engineer creating the agents, they also have certain controls like guardrails in the what we call in the AI Foundry, which also can be created. But as I mentioned, when they are creating that agent in those tools, automatically Entra ID will be coming to the picture. Now, another way to look at it, I would always highlight if you are maybe you're already running Copilot in your environment, maybe you're running maybe Claude. We don't know. I have some customers I came across in New Zealand who are running ChatGPT Enterprise version. So then they came up with the same problem. How can we control what users put into the prompts? What if they try to put our important documents? So now you can see this particular purview play a major role in this situation, because this guy will be able to help any organization even before you adapt. But by now, I know most of the organization already been using. In that case, use Purview quickly, run an e-scan, identify the data, try to classify and then label and then apply policies. So then not only the AI agents, but even the employees who are not authorized to access certain information, confidential or let's say department-wise data, they won't be able to abuse it. I will not go in depth on Purview team because that's a whole different area. Now let me see if there's any question. I have one question. Can we get same information regarding Copilot agent via Copilot Studio Kit? I'm not 100% sure about that one, Dinesh. As long as if the agent is created, let me see. Same thing regarding the Copilot agent via Copilot Studio Kit. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Copilot Studio Kit, so I'm not sure about that one. So far, I only demo for you on the Foundry, because in Foundry, as you saw, like you can get that information properly. As long as if the Copilot Studio has the give me a second. Yeah, I'm not sure. As long as if the agent is created or it is already been pre-created in your environment, yes, it's possible because that information is already there. But my question, challenge would be for me is, if that agent is created, as I mentioned in Copilot chat window, no, we have a little bit of problem. It doesn't have those Entra ID, agent ID information like that. It's only coming on two windows so far, Copilot Studio and then AI Foundry. So that's why like Microsoft is slowly advising the customers, try to come up with a proper AI governance plans. It's very funny when you talk about like that, because here you have the problem, let it happen in a way, because in M365 Copilot, you are allowing the users to create agents, so everyone can create agents. To address that problem temporarily, we have Agent 365. But in the other hand, for the enterprise organization, when they want to have proper governance, they're saying focus on this tool set to address that problem. So that's in my personal view, I would always say yes, these tool sets make major impact for any organization when they really want to have full control end to end in their agent management. Okay, any other questions, team, on that one? If not, because I went on almost 1 hour and it's 3:30, I might jump back into sleep, considering the time. Yeah, as I mentioned from the beginning, feel free to like send. What I'm going to do is I'll get back to IT Pro community members. I'll share the PowerPoint presentation as well as the PowerShell script, which we can use to create the blueprints and the agent. Because as you saw, GUI doesn't provide anything for you much. Okay, it's a very simple layman term. It's an preview, but PowerShell is the key advantage on that one. So we can work using PowerShell and then create those ones. And the other one is the Purview. Purview, like it's a whole different subject. So hopefully I'm trying to reach out the team and see whether I can do a sessions or maybe 1 day workshop, uh, just to give you all idea about what are the core components you need to configure in Purview. At least your organization can start up and running, discover, and then control to a certain extent. Important thing is discover. As long as you discover, if you know how to discover, then you know how to control. So I'm thinking about 1 day workshop. It will be a free one. So I'll try to come up with a plan as long as the organization have EFI licenses. We should be able to help you on that one. Yeah. So if there's no other question, team, I'll give back to Prishan. Prishan, you are there? Okay. Seems to be like Prishan is not there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
Susantha.
that, yeah,
Yeah,
you're there. Okay. Okay. I'll hand back to you, Prishan, because from my side, the
yeah,
session is almost completed now.
yeah. I think Sandhani is going to do the rest of the uh, part.
Yeah, thank you, Prashant. Yeah, so since we have come to the end of the session, so thank you, Susantha, for the insightful session and for sharing your expertise on securing and governing AI agents. So, because since like when it comes to most of the organizations, since they are being like deploying Copilot and other AI tools to their organization, the governance and the compliance is kind of like a particular crucial role that has to play in the organization. So we hope everyone gain valuable knowledge on building trustworthy AI solutions while maintaining strong security, identity governance, and data protection as well. So thank you to all attendees for joining us today. We appreciate your participation and look forward to seeing you at our future sessions as well. So have a great evening. Thank you so much again, Susantha. Have a good
No
day.
worries. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, Susantha.